So we are here today at another episode of The Intersection. Today I'm joined by a very, very special guest. Ian Michael Brock is the founder of Dream Hustle Code, where he's essentially rebranding the entire tech scene, being involved in tech or being into computer science as something cooler, specifically for black and brown kids who may feel alienated by tech, or that it's not for them, or that it's kind of lame, and working to shift an entire generation of underrepresented kids' perspective when it comes to tech about what it means to be in tech. Ian has been dreaming and hustling and coding for a long time now, since he was like a very early teen. He said even that he's been on the path to success since like 8 years old. And by the time he was 15, 16, 17, he had already been mentored by or rubbed shoulders with world-renowned leaders including Oprah, Steve Harvey, the CEO of Chick-fil-A, Ben Horowitz, Kiki Palmer, J.B. Pritzker, Robert F. Smith, the wealthiest black man in America, and even G. Herbo. The list of people that Ian has ended up surrounding himself with is very reflective of the ethos of his concept, the new nerd, which we'll get into later, which is bringing together the best of both worlds of business and tech and culture and the arts, which is really reflective of what this show, The Intersection, is all about. So I'm super, super excited to welcome Ian onto the show today. Thank you, bro.
Man, I appreciate you for having me on board. I'm excited to have this discussion today. Let's see what we get into.
So talking about your initial story, getting into CS, how you saw this video of Chris Bosh on YouTube.
Absolutely. So to give a little bit of background on that story, I was 8 years old and in third grade at that time. So my mom, she had came across this video on Facebook that was titled "What Most Schools Don't Teach." And so in this video, it talked about the importance of computer science and how every single kid should learn how to code. And so again, as a kid that was 8 years old in third grade and growing up in Chicago, all I cared about was playing video games, playing sports, specifically basketball, as well as hanging out with my friends. So while I was watching this video, although I saw people like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, at that time, I could really care less because I just wasn't interested in what they had to say. But what grabbed my attention was the fact that I saw two-time NBA champ and now Hall of Famer Mr. Chris Bosh, and I heard him talk about his experiences with learning how to code and how he thought coding was cool. And so hearing from somebody that not only looked like me, but somebody I could actually relate to, that's what really made the difference. And so had Chris Bosh not been in that video at all, I wouldn't even be here today. Dream Hustle Code wouldn't be a thing, and we wouldn't be doing this podcast. So it was all because I saw somebody that looked like me and I could relate to. And that's what started me on my journey with Dream Hustle Code to touch tens of thousands of kids' lives and in the future, tens of millions.
In the future, tens of millions on road. So yes, when you got started in the initial phases of Dream Hustle Code, what were some of like the first programs and stuff you started to like experiment with to try and, get things going at that very early stage?
Right. So in 2013, we ended up doing, this is actually the first year of Code.org's Hour of Code event. And so what we did was we ended up bringing this event to my elementary school. So at that time, I went to Skinner North Classical on the north side in Old Town. And so we brought in another school from the south side of Chicago to join us for this Hour of Code event. In fact, Beyonce was actually in town, and my dad knew her tour manager. And so we almost got her because she was in town for a concert to come through to the event.
Wow.
But we had such an amazing event that all of the kids were so excited, and they ended up going back home to their parents and telling them about it. And so a bunch of parents and teachers and adults kept reaching out to us asking, what is this coding thing and why is my kid so interested in it? Because you gotta think about it like this. If a kid isn't forced to do so, why would he take something that he learned from school or they learned from school and do it at home over the weekend? And so because of all that positive feedback that we received from that event, we continue doing education, not just educational, but entertaining and educational computer science and personal development things. So in the summer of 2014, we ended up hosting a couple or 1 week long free computer science events for kids who are underrepresented and underestimated in the tech space. So we had a couple weeks of that 1 week long programming, and then we just kept doing annual Hour of Code events from there. And so it really just stemmed from that 1 hour of code event and growing it into what we're doing today.
You talked about making tech more entertaining, and that's such an interesting idea to me about making tech approachable by making it a more entertaining thing. Do you want to talk more about that idea or some examples of how you've helped make tech seem approachable to people by doing that?
I would say, well, number one, especially with my generation, see, we grew up in this world of social media, right? So everything is moving so fast paced, and you have to find a way to grab somebody's attention. And so I feel like with Dream Hustle Code, that's one thing that we had to learn over the last 10 years is you can't just approach a kid and say, hey, do this educational thing or do this coding thing, because they're going to be turned off. They already got school and teachers telling them this, then they got their parents, so you got to approach it differently. And so what we've been able to do is to figure out, okay, how can we combine the things that they, number one, can relate to, but also number two, the things that they like, and combine it with computer science. So one thing that a lot of kids, or just a lot of people in general, one thing that they love is they love video games. I'm a huge gamer myself. I've been playing 2K since I was, 6? I've been playing GTA, playing Call of Duty Black Ops 2 with my cousins. So that just came naturally for me, and being able to be able to show how playing, and not only playing video games, but creating video games relates to computer science. I was just able to do so and replicate my own experiences and share with others. And then also doing that with music. Like, you'd be shocked at the amount of producers that actually use technology to create beats and create their own songs. Like, music has been a part of my life since I was 4. My sister was an artist, and now she writes songs. So I was in the studio 3 times a week at my uncle's basement, just recording music. In fact, I was on one of my sister's songs when I was younger. So, like, again, it's just all about how can you combine the things that people are already interested in with technology, and it'll come naturally because technology just touches every aspect of our lives.
You brought up something really cool, which is that producers are sometimes more into technology than you might assume. So kind of in the inverse way of making tech seem more approachable through entertainment, helping people in entertainment, because I was just in the studio a couple of days ago. I'm very, very close with a lot of Chicago musicians and creatives, and they're seeming to want to get into tech a little bit more. And I'm sure you've seen that, like both sides, like tech people wanting to be more into entertainment and people in entertainment being more curious about tech. Have you seen like
of people in different spaces getting into technology?
I could have rephrased that.
That's all good, man.
People in the tech worlds and the creative worlds have this very cool bridge when they can come together.
I mean, because it's funny because like, I always bring everything back to basketball because that's what I love. That's my favorite sport. I want to go to the NBA. So it's like, it's the same way that all basketball players in the NBA want to be rappers and all rappers want to be hoopers, right? Everybody wants what they can't have, or they want to be what they aren't. And so when it comes to like technology, let's just say people in the tech space, the people who are successful in the tech space and they're able to, get a recognition for the work that they do, they also want to be cool too. But at the same time, like the people in artists or people, rappers, artists, singers, etc., people in the entertainment space, yeah, they got this fame, but they also want to be able to build generational wealth. And so what you'll find is like a lot of the time, and it's even how we do it, we're able to bring in the artists or the people that have the names to then bring it into the tech space so that we can use their names and their likeness. And I don't want to say like I'm exploiting them.
Right. You're not yeah, I get it.
But like using their names to get the people's attention, but then educate everyone all around on how technology is important for them. So it's like, I've seen it happen on multiple levels. Like you could give an example like Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He came into it being an entrepreneur in technology, but he's a cool down to earth guy. But like you also see him moving around in the spaces in sports, right? Also sometimes in entertainment, right? So it's like, and then you have like Nas, for example. He's a rapper back in the day, probably one of the greats, to be honest. But now you see him investing in different companies like Coinbase, going to Silicon Valley and being able to dabble in those fields. So it's really, again, it all comes down to people want what they can't have and want to be who they aren't. So it's just a natural connection. You just got to be able to find the right people to do so. We can go outside of technology too, but everything is more connected than you think it is. Like the entire world, not just sports, not just entertainment, but technology, even like our personal lives. What I found is through my entrepreneurship journey, because that's really all I've been focused on. How can I solve other people's problems or bring solutions to their problems? But I found is the exact same lessons I've learned over the years apply to every other aspect of my life. So it's like the things you might learn from your mom and dad, you probably more than likely will start using those lessons in tech, sports, etc. So it's just like it's funny how life is really just one big, I guess, interconnected circle because we all in this one bubble together. So very interesting.
Very true. You have this very cool story of where you visited the Google office and you saw this massive abundance of the tech office, like hoverboards and bean bags, and you were like, "This is dope, but I can't be in here alone. Like, I got to bring my people in here with me to share this kind of experience." So I'd love to hear more about your vision of seeing a life of abundance in technology and the desire to bring as many of your people with you to live it and experience it.
I could tell you did your research, man. So yeah, I haven't said this story in a minute. So back in I want to say 2017, oh no, 2016, I was invited out to LA to Google's headquarters to speak on a panel on education as well as computer science. And so that was the first time I ever got a chance to go to Google, and I got a tour of the whole entire space, like after hours. Shout out to the security guard, cool guy, I forgot his name, but he just gave us a tour of the entire campus. And shout out to my sis, Darea, for inviting me out there. But I got a chance to experience this as a 12-year-old, so I was like, man, this is so dope. And then 3 months later, I ended up going down to Silicon Valley to this event called Startup Grind, and that's actually where I met Mr. Horowitz.
Wow.
Before I interviewed him, right? And so at that event, right, I was connecting with all these tech entrepreneurs, the person who started Startup Grind, Mr. Derek Anderson. And so Darea, she hit me up again. She was like, "Hey, if you're in town, you might as well just come to Google's headquarters in Mountain View." And I was like, "Say less." So we went there. When I got to the campus, this is like a college campus on steroids, right? So a humongous campus. I got a whole entire tour. I saw people riding around, like you said, in hoverboards, on scooters, just going to places. And what really surprised me was the fact that like the office space on both campuses, it didn't feel like an office. It felt like a, lack of a better term, like a man cave, if you will, like a glorified man cave, but for being productive, right? And so when I saw this, I was like, man, this is an amazing experience. But one thing about myself is I'm not a selfish person. I've always thought, how can I give back to others even when I was little? So like when I was little, I would take toys to the hospital during Christmas time, toys that I wouldn't use, and just give it to those in need. So my immediate thought was, okay, how can I give this experience to all of my friends? Because at that time, I wasn't thinking like, oh, how can I help all of Chicago? I just wanted my friends to experience it. So that actually sparked the idea for us to take a group of students to Silicon Valley, take them out of their neighborhoods and actually fly them there so that they could visit tech companies in the tech space and get a up close and personal view of what it's like being in tech. And so, we went through this 2-year long journey of raising funds to be able to take these kids. We were supposed to do it in 2018. People backed out at the last minute. Committed to giving funds, but then said no literally a week before deposits were due. And so we had to go through the whole entire process of raising funds again. And it's crazy how God works, because it was a blessing in disguise that we didn't go that first year, because in May of 2019, the head of media sales at BET, Mr. Lewis Carr, he reached out to me. And to shorten the story a little bit, he basically said that he was going to fundraise the last of the funds we needed to take that trip, as well as get BET to come on board too. And because of that, that connection led to me speaking on the main stage, or on the red carpet main stage at the BET Awards, which led to a connection with McDonald's. That connection with McDonald's led us to getting 300 students into our summer programming for free during the summer of 2020. And then that connection right there led to me doing 3 more McDonald's commercials. Plus, then that connection led to me doing work with FaZe Clan. So it's just a barrel of effects that happened. Like, had we gone to Silicon Valley that first year, none of those other things would have happened. So I said all that to say, this whole entire story was just a journey of me giving back and trying to show kids, just show my friends and my peers the possibilities in tech space, the same experiences that I had.
You've been having all of these boom, boom, boom experiences one after the next with, very amazing organizations and people for a while now. And I'm curious what you think it is about you that obviously others with the same mindset of impact and pushing things forward they see it in you, and then boom, 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 you just get connected and you keep going up.
Great minds think alike. So like when you have other people who think similarly to you, you just start to gravitate towards each other. And that's when you're able to really make real progress or actually make real impact in whatever it is that you're trying to do. So like I put my intentions are well known through what I'm doing, not only from Dream Hustle Code, but also like when I interact with people. And I feel like because people can actually see my real intentions through every aspect of my life, or for most aspects of my life, it just makes it that much more easier for me to connect with people. Secondly, like I'm a people's person. Like you probably could tell through this interview, but I love talking to people, right? And so like being able to have conversations, literally you can change a whole entire country through just a conversation. You have the right conversation with the right person at the right time. You can change millions of people's
You
lives.
think so?
And so absolutely. A whole literally I'm gonna try and give you a good example, but
Sure.
literally speeches are what change nations. Like the reason why countries will go to war, for example, is because somebody will give a great speech. I'm not going to give examples in history, but like Martin Luther King, the whole I Have a Dream speech that sparked a movement that's lasted almost 100 years, all because of one speech. Now he did all of this other work, but that one speech is what is most known throughout the community. And so like, again, your words have power. And so what I've been fortunate to learn is that what I say each and every time I'm on a platform, I'm interacting with a person, that can change somebody's mindset for the future. So like, again, I'm just using my skills and my ability to connect with people to make a difference in people's lives. So I feel like that's how I'm able to do so.
What would you say is the way that you embody the best of both worlds in as a new nerd in your own life?
For me, I don't really have to embody it. It's just who I
Just
am.
who I are,
Like,
yeah.
and I'm not even saying that in a cocky way.
Right,
It
it's
literally
just-
is
yeah,
who
yeah.
I am because I played sports when I was little. I listened to rap music. I've been listening to Kanye, Jay-Z since I was like 5 because my pops, right, just hear it in the background. And those were things I got into. I've been playing video games since I was like 5 or 6. And so I've been watching anime. I love anime. That's one of my favorite things to watch in my free time. Like all those things that I do in my personal life that allows me to relate with other people, I've been doing it before I even started my entrepreneurship journey. And so like on the flip side, being a part of technology, but also being interested in reading, loving math. It's just, again, these are all just different aspects of my life that I was able to piece together and really do that through the work I'm doing now. So I wouldn't say I've had to embody it. Again, it's just me taking all of my previous experiences and trying to change that negative notion of what a nerd is supposed to be like and reshape it into something more positive through New Nerd.
What do you think are some of like the barriers or the challenges you see like when you're talking to kids and you're trying to show them that being into tech or computer science is cool and they're like, nah man, like, or what do you see are like, you know, what are the solutions in your mind to take things forward, and what do you see sometimes are barriers that you have to combat?
All right, so I'll answer 2 of the issues and I'll answer the solutions. So the 2 issues I say is number 1, belief, and number 2, social media. So the belief part is not even a kid, just human beings in general, if you don't believe that something is for you, you will never go after it, right? If you don't think you can do something, it'll never happen. And so many times there's a lot of kids that they simply just don't believe that they can do it. And that stops a lot of them from even getting started. And I say social media number 2 is because we get hit again with so many different things in split seconds. And so like I've had this conversation with people before about this, but social media is just this facade, right? You get to see what I put out there, right? So although behind closed doors, my life might be in shambles, I can make it seem like I'm the most happiest person, the wealthiest person with all the connections and everything is going great. But really it's not. And so like sometimes with kids, they don't realize that social media isn't necessarily reality. And so what they see on social media, they see everybody flossing, they making quick money, they doing all this, not seeing the work that was put into getting to that point, the years of work it took before they got there. And so again, the belief in themselves and social media, it really does kind of hurt them in a sense. But I feel like the solution again is just finding a way to, number one, change their mindset through personal development, but also number two, being able to find a way to educate them in an entertaining way. You got to find a way to grab people's attention, because people's attention is all over the place. If you can find a way to grab their attention, keep it, and then help them get to where they're trying to go, simple. You'll be able to get amazing results through that.
You said you're working on launching. I don't know if you launched it already or if you're still working on it, but this event that's like a mix of BET and CES, the way you described it, I thought that was so cool. Is
Teen Tech Live.
Yeah. What's going on with Teen Tech Live?
So we've just to give a little background, Teen Tech Live, it was supposed to be an in-person event. It was, again, the combination of CES, Coachella, massive gaming tournament, South by Southwest, all in one. So again, it's combining everything I'm interested in: tech, music, gaming, and sports, right? All of those things, and entrepreneurship, all in one. And so because of the pandemic, we obviously couldn't do it in person. So we hosted our first Teen Tech Live event in February of 2021. We had speakers like Mr. Ray Lewis, speakers from Microsoft and Twitter, as well as Twitch, come on board. Hosted our second one in December of 2021 with Kyrie Irving on board, as well as 15,000 students, speakers from McDonald's and FaZe Clan, etc. And we just hosted our third one with Jewel. She was actually part of that one, for students virtually. And we also had some speakers like Dame Dash, the #1 motivational speaker in the world, Dr. Eric Thomas, Larry Fitzgerald, Hall of Fame wide receiver, and a couple other speakers from Microsoft and other companies as well. But this year, the goal is to bring this event in person now, because we've done the virtual events, but now it's time. Okay, how can we bring this event in person and actually bring out the original idea, bring that to life? So the goal is to do that in person. We actually just had conversations yesterday about that, trying to get the venues and trying to get everything situated. But yeah, it's supposed to be an amazing event. It is going to be the #1. I promise you this. It'll be the #1 educational, entertaining event, virtual field trip in the future out there, if it's not already. And so the goal is to really have this be the Super Bowl of tech events. So millions of people or millions of kids tuning in live during school. That's the goal eventually. And now we're just trying to bring it back in person.
You don't think you think they'll be in class tuning into Teen Tech Live while the teacher's trying to teach some boring stuff?
Oh, no. See, how you get around that is you got to get the schools on board.
Oh, okay.
Get the schools on board, get the teachers on board, and once we get them on board, the kids have no choice but to pay attention. What they going to do, hide in the bathroom? No. I mean, they can try, but they're going to have to, because the teacher's going to have it a part of the lesson plan. So, and it's during Computer Science Education Week, so it just makes perfect sense with the timing.
You've mentioned a lot of examples of all these incredible people that you've met. Who you mentioned and I mentioned. Are there any like specific moments or cool interactions that you've had with people that were really significant or touching to you, or meeting with a particular person?
It's a lot. Like, it's crazy, because when I was younger, like you're young and you meet famous people, or not even famous, just successful people, and you might get starstruck or something. So like when I was younger, when I met Mr. Steve Harvey, that was a little nerve wracking. I was only in 8th grade. And then Miss Oprah, like when I met Miss Oprah Winfrey, man, it was kind of like an out of body experience. It feels like you're not even meeting somebody that's human. It's like she's an angel or a spirit from a higher cause or something crazy like that. And so she dropped a lot of gems with me. But over the years, I wouldn't say I've kind of gotten used to it, but I've understood that even the most successful people, at the end of the day, they're just human, right? They just like me. They go to sleep at night. They take showers like I do. They breathe the same as I do. So it's like I've gotten a chance to appreciate the moment and being around in those environments. And so, I've been blessed and fortunate to be able to interact with a lot of amazing and successful people. So I hope that continues to happen in the future, though.
You did this event with Ross Mack and G Herbo, and what I was trying to figure out more about, like, what that was all about.
So, you remember earlier I talked about the head of media sales helped us with that trip to Silicon Valley. So his name is Mr. Lewis Carr, and so Mr. Carr is the founder of this corporate or company called Waymaker, and they're all focused on improving our people through health, personal development, financial literacy, just the overall human being. And so he puts on this annual event called the Blueprint Men's Summit. Now, this event is specifically for men, but next year he's putting on the Blueprint Women's Summit. So all the women out there, don't get upset at him. It's gonna happen in the future. And so I was a part of the last one he did before the pandemic, so I was speaking during the youth session. But then Mr. Carr, he reached out to me, I want to say in September of last year. He was like, Ian, he reached out to myself and my parents, and he said he wanted us to host the entire youth session. So I had full control to be able to put on the youth session of the Blueprint Summit.
Wow.
We created the list. I handpicked each individual speaker. Like with Ross, that's my brother. Like that's my older bro. I met him through the McDonald's commercial we did last year in February. So that was a close relationship. G Herbo, it's funny because G Herbo is actually close to Mr. Carr family wise in terms of, friends and family friends. And so we picked out corporate. I knew corporate would, again, trying to get the kids' attention through entertainment. I was like, yo, corporate gonna get everybody's attention, so might as well have them come to the event. We also had my brother Byron Sellers, the #1 black mobile homes developer in the country, as well as we had a speaker from the police department come in to speak to the kids about the importance of community police and also how to deal with the police, because a lot of times we don't know how to do so. We got this negative connotation with them, but it's like if you know the different strategies to actually deal with them, it makes them that much easier to get through situations. But again, we put on this whole event to help impact the kids, and I mean, I think it turned out well. The audience enjoyed it. I think the press enjoyed it. And so now I'm on the board of Waymaker, so I'm looking forward to putting on an even better event this fall and this September.
You've talked before about not only do you have a deep love for Chicago and a local focus of trying to bring people up here, but you want to take Dream Hustle Code international. And
Yes,
I'm really curious to hear more about your vision for like interacting with people around the world.
So it's funny you say it because what's today? March 14th. In about 2 weeks, it will be a year since I got a chance to go to Saudi Arabia to speak at the Global Entrepreneurship Congress on purpose-driven entrepreneurship. So I was blessed to that opportunity. Shout out to my other mentor, Mr. Jeff Hoffman. He invited me out to be a part of that event. Literally just said, Ian, you want to be? I asked him if I could be a part of it, and he said, sure, come on by. And so that was the first, like being in Saudi Arabia we were on the royal family's ground. So it was like, yo, I came into this big old mansion. The hotel that they were staying at, it was actually supposed to be the prince's house. But because he wasn't using it, they just turned it into a hotel. That's right? So funny. The Ritz-Carlton. And so like where the venue was at was like their office space. I might be butchering it, but I think it was their office space. And so like the amount of connections I got, the people I got to interact with, like you think you know real wealth until you go overseas.
Saudi Arabia.
That Saudi money is definitely different. But like interacting with, and when I got on my panel after I got off my panel, I was bombarded with a bunch of people, and they kept asking us, or they kept telling me that the same problems that kids face in America, they face those exact same problems in India, Africa, Europe. And it's like, you would think that a place like India all the kids are good to go, but they only showcase like the top 10% of kids. The other 90%, they're just left behind and in the dust. And so once I realized that, okay, there's still a lot of kids, not just in this country, but across the world that need help, that's what opened my eyes to bigger possibilities. And plus, I love to travel, right? I like flying. I like getting into different cultures. I like trying new food. I love eating food.
What's some of your favorite food?
Don't ask me that. Don't ask me that. Because I'm half Asian and half black. So I don't know. I love me some soul food, but also I love me some, Filipino food. I eat everything. I'm just say that. I can't pick one thing. I eat everything. But again, I love traveling and interacting with people. So just being able to do the things I love. I mean, I'm just blessed and fortunate. So the goal is to be able to impact, again, tens of millions, not only in this country, but around the globe.
You have talked before about, or you're a very big person of faith, and you have these like videos on YouTube like I'm getting money with God, I'm getting money with God, and but you also like on Twitter you've posted various tweets of like yogis and other spiritual sages of the ages. So you're a very, very big person of faith when it comes to Christianity, but you also recognize like the spiritual values of other traditions. And so I'm very curious of what you're like, how you look at spirituality and stuff like that.
So one thing that I learned is like when you are being raised through religion, again, religion is such a touchy subject. I'm not even going to go down that path, but like how you are raised is only how one aspect from somebody, one specific perspective. And what I've learned is you can learn something from if you get everybody's perspective, you can learn something, right? You can either learn what to do or what not to do. That's what my dad says. 2 things you can learn from every person on earth: what to do or what not to do. And so like, I felt like in order for me, religion, it was an important thing. God is my number one in everything. I can't do anything without him. He's the only reason why I'm here today. But opening my eyes to the different teachings and also to different things allowed me to, again, become a better overall person. And so there's no knock to any other religions, no knock to anybody who's spiritual or not spiritual. It was a crucial part of how I was raised. And once I got to a certain age, I was able to integrate, some different things I learned outside of just my scope of knowledge or what I understood. So, but yeah, spirituality is an important thing. And like, it's not even just about, I wouldn't say religion. It's about how can you become the best version of yourself, right? If you can get in tune with yourself, nobody will be able to stop you. So that's really what I've been trying to do with obviously the man above as well.
That's dope. I love how you put that. It doesn't even have to be about spirituality or religion. It can just be about knowing that you can learn something unique from every single human being and making yourself the best possible person you want to be. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
We're almost through all these questions. I guess a little last tidbit I would want to ask is about what's next for you and stuff that you're thinking about working on, whatever you want to reveal. But before that, I have a couple random stuff that I found online that I thought was funny. So I saw you were bopping with Kiki Palmer.
Yeah, that was at Essence Fest. Yeah. Did I post? Was I the one that posted? I might have posted. I don't know. Somebody put. I remember that video. So yeah, this was during the McDonald's Future 22s series that they had. So that was actually where I met Ross when we were shooting down in LA. And so they flew us all down to Essence Fest. Kiki Palmer was there during this event. And actually, at that time, I didn't know this, but Kiki Palmer actually grew up like 10 minutes away from where my grandma stayed. So we had a conversation. I found out, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize she was from Chicago, let alone like, yeah, she is. She grew up in, well, not from the city, but she grew up in Homewood, right? So she grew up in that area. And so I'm like, that's 10 minutes away from my grandma. So we got familiar. It turns out like 5 or 6 of us from Chicago. So we ended up starting talking, and then I started bopping. Everybody started bopping, and it was just going crazy. But yeah, it was a good time, good experience.
You have this video of yourself on YouTube. You're going off from turning 11 to 12 years old. You're like really excited.
Oh man, look, that video was 6 years ago. I still had a high squeaky voice. I think I ended up taking my shirt off in that video. Look, bro, you really did your research. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, that was, again, it was really a motivational video for myself. Really, I wasn't even trying to be entertaining. I was just talking to myself in my crazy way, and talking about what I wanted to do when I was 12. So
my birthday is in 3 hours. So being 12 might be the best thing ever. But 7th grade year, it's going to be basketball, school, everything. But I'm going to demolish that.
So what's next for Ian? What's Ian thinking about? What's on top of your mind a lot these days? Who are you excited about collaborating with potentially in the world? Like what's on your radar for the near-term future and the long-term future?
It's a lot. I mean, it's crazy. I do so many different things and I have so many different ideas. We'd be here all day if I were to talk about everything. But essentially, it's like, it's all broken down to this. How can I, again, impact as many people as possible, but help them get closer to where they want to be, whether it be through technology, personal development, or financial literacy? So what I can explain is I was just recently a member of the Teal Fellowship, where essentially you get 2 years to focus on your business. So focusing on being a part of that clique and then building out our workforce development pipeline through Dream Hustle Code. That's number one, on top of all of our other events, Teen Tech Live, Summer League, even through Blueprint Summer with Mr. Carr. But also, too, building my personal brand in terms of trying to, I'm not doing, because again, honestly, if I can be real, I don't like social media that much.
Really?
I really don't. No, not at all. Again, when I talked about earlier that facade, I feel like a lot of people are trying to be something they're not on there. Plus, like, it gets too addicting. Like, I'll be scrolling through TikTok for like 4 hours. I'm like, what's going on? I gotta get off. But the only social media I love is YouTube. YouTube, woo!
Agreed.
YouTube raised me, so I need that.
Same.
But I really just want to grow my brand to really just show other kids that you can too be great. Because a lot of them feel like you got to have a God-given ability or God-given talent. It's like, no, I really didn't. I just worked hard and I was able to. I had amazing two parents that raised me right. God did amazing things, but I just was able to make the right connections and use my gifts. And then number three is just another part is the financial literacy aspect. Because I'm now 18, I started my credit journey. So it's now teaching kids how to, number one, manage their money. Number two, build credit. But also, number three, how to be able to get their housing for free within 3 years of graduating high school. That's another goal of mine, to be able to teach that. So it's ways to do so. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. FHA loans, if you want to do some more research for everybody listening. But yeah, it's a lot going on. Again, just trying to provide as much value as I possibly can through the work that I do and enjoy life. Because I feel like sometimes even I do this, but a lot of people, we just go, focus on the work, but you don't get a chance to stand still, look around and just enjoy yourself, enjoy what life has to offer. And I don't want to be somebody that's working 50 years down the line. I look up and I missed everything. No, I want to be able to work hard, be successful at what I do, but also take a moment to just enjoy life for what it has to offer.
Very well said, bro. Well, you are definitely young boss in the utmost sense of the term, young goat. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today. And for this last little segment, if there's anything you'd like to plug, any stuff you want to end it with, any thoughts you feel like you wanted to touch on that we didn't, or any people you might want to connect with. Again, the echelon of people you're connected with is already out of this world, but this show does have a lot of people from both audiences of technology and culture. So if anyone watching, you might want to give them a message.
Oh man, you talking about anyone? There's a lot of people I'm trying to get connected to. Look, my thing is, I guess a couple words I would say is, number one, to the audience, thank you all for watching. I want to give thanks to my parents, God, as well as my family and supporters for getting me to where I am. Without them, I would be nothing. But I will also just, as a reminder, you only have one life, right? So you want to live it to the fullest extent. Now, I'm not saying go out there and be wild and don't go do some crazy things. All I'm saying is do what you find your purpose, right? Find the thing that you do really well with the least amount of effort that allows you to make money to take care of yourself and your family, but also that allows you to impact other people. Don't change for nobody, right? Don't compromise your morals and your character to try and please other people. I'm telling you, that's not the way to go, because I did it before. And just take a moment to, again, enjoy life, because we move so fast. We move in a world that's so fast paced that sometimes we just forget to just look around and just be in the moment. And so, yeah, I guess for future updates, you can check out Dream Hustle Code's website. We got a lot of events going on in the future, summer programming for kids, and hopefully future work for the adults as well. In terms of, you can follow me on Instagram, Ian__Brock. I'll be posting a decent amount there. Oh, and the podcast is coming out. Definitely starting the podcast. Matt, we might have to get you on, my guy.
Whoa, say less.
But yeah, we got to get we're starting a podcast too. I just like talking to people, so it allows me to talk to more people. And Teen Tech Live 4.0 is coming out. A lot of amazing things. It's a lot, y'all. It's too much. Just go to the Instagram. Will be updates. But Matt, I appreciate you for having me. Thank you so much. Great interview. You probably are like one of the few people that did a deep dive on research, because I get some things on there that I haven't talked about in years. And I'm like, dang, only people that did research on specific individuals would get the information. So I appreciate you for doing the research. Great questions. And I appreciate you for having me on this podcast to have this conversation today.
Absolutely, bro. You know, like you said earlier, when you see people that you resonate with in the world, it doesn't feel like work to try and learn more about them. So it only took me a few hours last night to do all of that, because video after article after whatever, I was like, wow, I really like how Ian thinks. He's dope. So yeah,
Appreciate that. Yes,
thank
sir.
you,
Well,
man.
thanks again for having me, man.